Welcome back to another episode of Becoming Light. I am your host, Victoria, and I am really excited to talk to you about periods today. We are talking about our periods and perimenopause and the conversation that no one is having. We are talking about the things that happen around our periods, during our periods, and the shifts that are happening that many of us kind of got blindsided with. So I thought we're going to put this together. We're going to have this conversation. And I want to ask you something before we really dig in. When your period started to change, okay, when your things started to get irregular, maybe heavier or completely unpredictable, did anyone actually explain to you why or what's happening here? Did you sit down with your doctor and ask the questions? Did they walk you through what's going on in your body? Did anyone tell you that a lot of what you're experiencing is normal? I'm guessing that the answer here is probably no. You probably were left to, hit Google, Dr. Google in the middle of the night, and you're sitting there trying to piece together the fragments of information from forums, from Facebook groups, and you probably were left wondering if something is seriously wrong with you. Or maybe you're one of the ones that fired me off a message in the middle of the night saying, Lord help me, Dr. Google is scaring the living daylights out of me. But today we are having the conversation that you deserved to have probably a couple years ago. We are talking about the truth about our periods in perimenopause. And listen, I promise that by the end of this episode, you are going to feel so much less alone in what you are experiencing. So before we dig in here, I want you to hit send or share to a friend that you know is experiencing perimenopause periods, okay? Because she's going to want to hear this too. So let's start at the very beginning, because I think there's a lot of confusion about what perimenopause actually means, both for your period, for you, for what's happening in your body. So perimenopause is the tradition, not the traditionals, the transition before menopause. It is not menopause itself, okay? Menopause is defined as the 12th consecutive month without a period. So it is like technically menopause is just a day. It is the 12-year anniversary of you being period free. Everything after that day is considered postmenopause. But perimenopause is everything that comes before that day. And it can start anywhere from mid to late 30s, 40s, and it can last up to 10 years, right? Yay. So during this transition, our estrogen and progesterone, these are the two hormones that are kind of really running the cycle for our menstruation. And they're the ones I want to really focus on today, because there's a lot of other things happening. Obviously, our body is extremely complicated and beautiful, but for your sake, because I know a lot of you listening aren't as nerd dialed in as I am, I'm going to keep it simple. So we are going to be talking today about the two hormones that kind of have been running your menstrual cycle for the last couple decades. And they're the ones that keep you on that clockwork. But when you hit perimenopause and as your body starts to shift, we stop seeing these hormones flow with their normal usual rhythm. So some months our estrogen surges higher than it's ever been before, and then other months it may crash out dramatically. And then our progesterone becomes increasingly unpredictable at the same time. And your period, which is entirely controlled by these two hormones, becomes as unpredictable as they are. So this is why your cycle is changing. A lot of times it's not because something is catastrophically wrong with you, and it's not because your body is failing you, but because your hormones are in this transition phase, right? And that transition is going to look completely different from woman to woman. I do not want you to start comparing yourself to another woman because, hey, she's getting to skip months and I'm getting 2 periods in a month, or her flow is decreasing and mine is increasing, right? We are all I don't say bioavailable. We are all very different, and biodiverse is the word I was looking for. So some women find their cycles are going to get shorter. Periods are arriving every now like 21, 22 days instead of maybe the full 28-day cycle. And then other women are finding maybe their periods are getting longer, or their cycles are getting longer. So their periods are kind of arriving every 35 to 40 days. And then some of you luckies are already skipping months completely. And then the rest of us are the ones having 2 periods in kind of quick concession. And some experience that flooding that is so heavy, it's frightening. And look, I know a couple women I've talked to that had very kind of moderate to light periods, and then all of a sudden experienced these heavy periods that scared the living daylights out of them. And I've had conversations with women that are like, I am soaking through a tampon and a pad within 2 hours, and it is gruesome and scary, and I don't know what's happening. And this is a thing, especially if you didn't grow up like some of us that had these, intense flooding periods every single month. So if that's you, I want you to know that like that can be a normal sign of perimenopause. And having some spotting between cycles, that kind of seems like it's coming out of nowhere, right? You're 2 weeks away from your period and all of a sudden you're spotting, or your period's, not for another 4 or 5 days and then you spot. This can be a normal sign as well. And some periods are going to be shortened. So some are finding that, hey, my period only lasts 2 days now. And then others are finding, hey, my period is lasting 10 days now. And all of this can be related to perimenopause. All of it is real. It is really happening to you. It is valid if you're feeling these feelings around what is happening to me. And almost none of what is happening here gets explained properly. I am seeing in the medical system that we know has historically under-researched and under-resourced women's health. So today I really want to change that. I want to have this quick conversation so that you feel more empowered and more ready when these shifts happen, or if these shifts are already happening, so they're not so frickin' frightening, okay? So we want to talk about the symptoms, kind of the symptoms that nobody warned you about. And this is the part I really want to spend the next little bit of time on today, because while most women have heard that their periods might change in perimenopause, like we're all aware that our bodies are eventually going to stop having periods, almost nobody is warning you about everything else that changes around your period. And it's this everything else kind of space that leaves women feeling, what I'm seeing in my group coaching and in my one-to-one coaching, is that everything else space is what's leaving women feeling completely blindsided and frightened. That's what's leaving you guys convinced that something is so seriously wrong with you. So you're panicking. You're doing those, 3 a.m. Dr. Google searches and panicking more, because Dr. Google is the worst thing you could do for yourself. So I want to talk about these things that you probably haven't talked about before. So let me walk you through the symptoms that commonly show up around your period in perimenopause and explain exactly why they're happening, right? I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person that needs to know the why behind things. Like, I need to know this is happening, but why? Why is it happening? Maybe it's the autism. I'm not sure. But the first one is extreme bloating. Now, I'm not just talking about your normal like pre-period bloating where you get a little distension and your pants get a little tight. I am talking about that bloating that is extremely uncomfortable. I'm talking you can't button your pants, you look visibly pregnant. I've had clients come to me and say, I look 6 months pregnant, or I feel like I swallowed a beach ball, right? So this is extreme bloating. And what's happening here is it's driven by estrogen's effect on the fluid retention that's happening in your body. So when estrogen fluctuates dramatically, as it does in perimenopause, we all know that your body's ability to regulate fluid retention becomes so unpredictable for many women that many are finding that this bloating arrives several days before their period and then stays for their entire period. So this is directly related to estrogen and how how estrogen is being processed within your body, how estrogen is being released through your body, and how your pathways are working that way. The second symptom that I want to talk about is the debilitating cramps. And especially for those of you that have never had these really intense cramps before, this surprises a lot of women. There's a large group of women that got through their 30s and 40s with kind of more manageable periods. And then all of a sudden in their 40s, they're experiencing this debilitating cramping that is stopping them in their tracks. They're reporting, I can't even get out of bed. I'm in so much pain. I have to sit in, I have to sit in bed with my heating pad on my stomach. I'm taking all the drugs. Like I cannot do this. And so this is a common thing that's happening in perimenopause for quite a few women. And this is driven by your increased prostaglandin production. So these are inflammatory compounds that trigger those uterine contractions, those cramps. And in perimenopause, the hormone fluctuations that you're experiencing with your estrogen, your progesterone, can actually amplify this response significantly. And that is not fun. That is not great, especially if you're someone that's never experienced those kind of crampings before. And again, there are things that we can look at to make sure that, your body is flushing out your estrogen properly. You're not getting overloaded with estrogen. Are you making sure that you're supporting your inflammation, like not supporting your body into inflammation, but supporting your body so it can release inflammation? That is another big, big thing. So, and I also recently started doing some research and self-experiment. I guess you guys know me. I'm the type that's like, I'm the guinea pig first on the whole antihistamine debacle or debate that's happening. Okay, so that's something we can look at as well. The third thing, and this is honestly the one I hear the most. This is the one that it's funny because we put up with all the physical symptoms and we kind of grin and bear it, right? Because we think, well, that's just how it's supposed to be. But this one is the one where you guys are coming to me and saying, I don't recognize myself. My mood crashes out so bad that this feels like it's not depression, it's not sadness, it's not a feeling of, I'm just a little low today. It's this profound, almost flatness, a darkness that descends into your being the week before your period and makes you feel like you're this completely different person. This is that phase where you ever experienced where you're yelling at somebody, like probably your partner or a good friend or someone you love, because you're angry about something, but you don't even know what you're actually angry about? And it's almost like a third person perspective. You feel like you've been removed from your body. You're watching yourself be an absolute douche canoe. and screaming and yelling at this person. And you're thinking, be quiet. Oh my God, you're a horrible person. Shut up. But you can't stop it. It is this thing that has taken you over. So many women I talk to experience this, and they're like, what is going on? And the part here that's really difficult is that if you haven't had that conversation with your partner or your friend or, that person that you love that you're taking your crazy out on, to say, look, this is what's happening. I am yelling at you, but I don't even know why or how to stop it. I feel like I've been taken over by some sort of weird demon, and I cannot for the life of me stop myself from screaming at you. If you haven't had this conversation, this alone has been like a major root cause of so many divorces, because the other person has no idea what you're going through unless you're going to communicate this. But here, that's a whole nother topic as well. That is one that we're going to dig deeper into. And I have a couple people that I want to have on to have that conversation. So I want to say, here's the science behind all this, before we dig too much more into what's, this weird depression type of thing that's coming over you. So in the second half of your cycle, your progesterone is going to rise. That is normal. That is how things go. So progesterone supports your body's production of GABA, and GABA is your brain's calming neurotransmitter. Okay, it's the one that like chills you out. But when you're in perimenopause, the progesterone production becomes increasingly inadequate. So what's happening here is when your progesterone is, not there, that means that your progesterone is no longer supporting your production of GABA, which means that your nervous system can no longer regulate itself properly. And so there's this vicious cycle that's happening there. And so the result is that in your pre-period window, you have this feeling like you're in an emotional free fall and everything feels so much heavier and bigger, right? But I want to say, like, this is not weakness, okay? A lot of women I've talked to say, like, oh, if I could just be stronger or hold it together. No, sweetheart. It's not a weakness. You aren't too weak to hold it together, and you're not being too sensitive. This is actually a measurable neurochemical response and hormone decline that is happening within your body. Okay? It is measurable. They can look at the numbers and say, "Oh yeah, that's happening for you." Okay? And the fourth thing I want to touch on here is the brain fog. Now, the brain fog, not just like forgetting things, but this is a brain fog that is so thick that you are forgetting words, you can't put a sentence together, you're stumbling over cognitive thoughts. And here's the thing, estrogen, she directly supports our cognitive functioning. She supports our memory, our processing speed, our verbal fluency. And when that hormone is dramatically fluctuating, especially around your period, many women experience what feels like like your brain is just completely gone offline. Like, how many times have you just kind of stood there and been like, um, because you literally cannot find the words. For me, I really noticed this with inanimate objects, trying to find the name of that object. How many of you have said things like the stabby food thing instead of fork? We know we do it, right? Oh my God, can you please pass me the stabby food thing? And everyone will look at you and think you need a fork. And you're like, oh yeah, I need a fork. That's the word for it. And so your words, right? They're disappearing mid-sentence. You walk into rooms and you're completely blank. Like, this is not just like, oh, I forgot the keys. Where did I put the keys? This is like walking into a room and there is nothing there. You have zero clue why you were there, what the purpose of this is. And this is the one that's really killing me. I love to read. I finally got my reading skills back after my brain injury. And then now I am reading the same freaking sentence, the same freaking paragraph 3 times, 4 times, and I still am not absorbing what it is that they are saying. That was a major, major symptom that I was having for quite a while there. And so this is estrogen-related cognitive functioning and fluctuations, okay? This is a real, again, this is documented, and it's not necessarily early onset dementia, but there are so many women that I talk to that think I'm already losing it. I've already got dementia. I'm already in that space where I can't put sentences together. Like this is not great. So the fifth one I want to talk about is fatigue. And this is a fatigue that no amount of sleep is ever going to fix, okay? This is your body is working extraordinarily hard to manage your hormone fluctuations. Your adrenal glands are compensating for declining ovarian hormone production. Your liver is processing hormonal fluctuations constantly, and your nervous system is kind of constantly in this low-grade dysregulation. So all of these things cost you your energy, which is why you can't sleep well at night, but then also you could go to bed and be in bed sleeping for 8 hours, and then you still wake up and feel like you haven't slept because your body is over processing all these things. And the sixth one I want to talk to you guys about is anxiety. So this is not worry. This is, not stress about something specifically. This is a different kind of anxiety. This is the feeling like a full body alarm system is going off. You have the heart pounding, the chest becomes tight. There's this real sense of dread or danger with no identifiable source. And it is real. It feels so overwhelming, and you are afraid that there's danger, that there's dread coming, but you cannot identify where would the source of this danger be. And this is one of probably the most distressing perimenopause symptoms that we talk about because it comes completely out of nowhere, and it really feels completely out of proportion to anything happening in your life. I personally have had these anxiety attacks come over me for no apparent reason. One time I was driving to work, and there was really no danger, same road I traveled a million times before, and then all of a sudden it hit me so hard, and I had to pull over on the side of the road and stop. I shared a long time ago the story of I was treating a client, and all of a sudden one came over me, and I found like I was having a panic attack in the middle of this session. And I swear the lady knew. She didn't say anything. Maybe she was going through perimenopause too, but it is the weirdest feeling. And what is happening is this is driven by the GABA depletion, the one I mentioned earlier, combined with the effect of the estrogen fluctuations on your amygdala. So your amygdala is a part of your brain that is responsible for processing fear and threat and like deciding if things are going to be crazy or not. So when estrogen drops, your amygdala becomes extremely hyperactive. Your nervous system is going to interpret this as danger. And then you have this anxiety as a result. So I want you to know, if you have experienced any of these symptoms and wondered if you are going crazy, girl, you're not going crazy. You are probably just perimenopausal. And you deserved to know that so much sooner. So I am sorry that this podcast did not come out earlier. But I want to be really clear here too, because I think this is important. to share that while irregular periods and symptoms, the symptoms that I just discussed, are, completely normal in perimenopause, there are some things that do warrant a conversation with your healthcare practitioner. And I'm not going to say this just to alarm you, and that's not what this is, but because I believe in you having the full picture and advocating for your whole health. How much more empowered would you feel going into your appointment and saying, my period is doing this, and this is the hormone that's responsible, and I would like to have it tested, or I would like to have this looked at, or I need some help, right? So if you're experiencing where you're soaking through your pads or tampons consistently, like every hour or for several consecutive hours, days, this does warrant medical attention. This level of bleeding can lead to things like iron deficiency, anemia, extreme fatigue. And I do say that you should have this investigated, at least to make sure that you're not experiencing that anemia, okay? If your period is constantly lasting more than the 7 to 10 days, this is also worth having a discussion about. It should not be lasting that long, and you probably want to find out why. If you're spotting after sex, that is also worth being considered, worth being looked up and talking to your healthcare professional about. If you are experiencing any bleeding after your 12 consecutive months without a period, I would ask for some investigation on that, because if you've, especially like how disappointing, you've been a whole year without your period and now all of a sudden it's back. But in all honesty and seriousness, this should be something that you should investigate. So I say these things not because I want to create fear for you, but because perimenopause being normal doesn't mean that every symptom is automatically fine, okay? You deserve to be taken seriously by your healthcare professionals. You deserve a thorough investigation if that's what you want to do. And if your body or your doctor is dismissing your concerns, you need to be able to advocate for yourself. You need to know how and what to ask for when it comes to your hormonal testing. You need to know that you can request a referral to a menopause specialist if you need one. You can seek second opinions, okay? You are not overreacting, and honestly, you never were, by asking for your bodies, like for you to be properly taken care of in the medical system. So great, now we know all those things, but let's talk about what you can actually do. Because I never want to just, name the problem and then not give you guys a solution to work with. The first and most powerful thing you can do, number one thing, is track your cycle. I really think this is a powerful thing. You should track your cycle, even just to know what day one of the period is, so that you can really start to see what patterns are happening. So even like a rough track, even like I said, just noting when your period starts and stops, maybe put it in your phone. A lot of these health apps and watches and stuff like that, they have period trackers on them. So, tracking, when am I noticing the bloating? When is my brain fog coming in? When is my mood changing? Just a simple little check off of those things. And then when you see the pattern, you can stop being blindsided by it, right? How many of you, like, I had a girlfriend, she's like, I was such a bee today and I don't know why. And she was like feeling all overwhelmed by it. And then the next day she messaged me, she's like, never mind, my period, right? Or how many times have we done that? I remember I get like that. Oh my God, I need ice cream and chocolate and I feel so horrible and I have a headache and why do I feel so bad? And then literally the next day my period shows up, right? So when you're tracking these things, and you can plan kind of around it, right? You can be prepared. At the very least, you can be prepared and be like, oh, I'm probably should stay away from triggering moments this week because this is what's happening. And you can give yourself more grace on those hard days if you know why they are hard, right? How many times have you beaten yourself up for having that hard day and then realized, oh, I shouldn't have done that, right? And if you have all this information ready to go, when you go to your healthcare provider, you can advocate fully for yourself. The second thing that we can look at is nutrition. All of my clients, all of my one-to-one clients, I give them an anti-inflammatory eating protocol that they can follow because it makes a profound difference to their symptoms. And especially in perimenopause, when many of us are experiencing that extra bloating and that fluid retention. So in the week before your period, especially, you want to reduce those ultra processed foods. Alcohol is a huge trigger for these symptoms in perimenopause. Don't come for me and say, yeah, well, I like to have a glass of wine at night, and then complain that you're bloated, your period's horrible, you're bleeding nonstop. Don't come for me. This is a known trigger for perimenopause. I don't drink at all. I haven't for almost 9 years now. And I can't imagine alcohol in my life that would trigger this even worse. Sugar is also a huge one. Sugar is a massive trigger for inflammation. Okay. So all these things, if you can get rid of these things, especially around your period, these can significantly reduce the bloating, the cramping, and that mood instability. Another thing that I like to see is adding magnesium. Magnesium is something I do recommend to almost every single woman I work with because magnesium supports our progesterone production. It reduces our cramping. It's calming to the nervous system, and it's going to help our sleep quality. So all the things that are particularly important, especially around our cycle, our period, and you can absolutely increase your magnesium through food if you don't like to take supplements. Dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, almonds, dark chocolate. But I am a huge advocate for taking supplementation. I do think that, especially in today's world, it can be really hard to get everything that you need in your body, okay, from food. Then we talk about our protein. We always talk about protein because protein is what we need, okay? Protein is going to stabilize our blood sugar throughout our entire cycle. And so when we have stable blood sugar, it actually helps to reduce the hormonal chaos that amplifies so many of these symptoms. So protein at every meal will help your blood sugar be steady. It's going to support those neurotransmitters that we talked about, and it gives your body the building block it needs to produce the hormones and be in a better state. And the third thing is movement. And now I'm not talking about, the crazy movement or the big workouts. I'm talking about movement that serves you in this season of life. So we've looked at how high intensity exercises, especially in the week before your period, if you are someone that's experiencing these dramatic changes in your body, that week before your period, when your body is under already a ton of hormonal stress, like those cortisol spikes, that can make your symptoms even worse. And we don't want that. So what actually helps in that time is gentle restorative movement, walking in nature, like think yoga, yin, restorative styles yoga, stretching, swimming. If you still do your strength training, but maybe you slow the pace down a little bit. You can still lift the heavy things and put them back down, but maybe you're being more conscious of how you're doing it. You're slowing it down. The reps are a little bit longer, right? Movement that tells your nervous system, you are safe, we are okay. Not movement that adds more stress to your already stressed out system. This is one that I wish more people understood. And the fourth is our mindset work. Okay. This is a huge one. I do the first couple sessions in any of my coaching is always mindset work. It is so important. So we're learning to work with our cycles instead of pushing through irregardless of how we feel. In the week before our period, your nervous system is going to be more sensitive. You're more emotional. Your emotions are amplified. Your energy is lower. This is information, right? This is the information that we need instead of beating ourselves up for feeling like we're a weakling. This is the information we need so that we can support ourselves properly. So when you know this is coming, you can plan for those later days in that window. You can schedule your most demanding work for the first half of your cycle when your estrogen is rising, your energy is good, your focus is better. And then you can give yourself permission to rest without guilt when you get to that space where you're feeling that exhaustion. It's all about working with your body in perimenopause instead of fighting it and being mad at it for making these shifts, right? That alone is going to be one of the most powerful shifts that you can make in your mindset. And this is exactly what we do inside my Becoming Light community. And I want to close today with something I say often because I do believe it completely. Your body has not failed you. It has been carrying you through one of the most complex hormonal transitions of your life. It doesn't have a map. There's inadequate, to say the the least, medical support, and without the information you deserved to have. The fact that you are here, that you're listening, that you're trying to understand, that is not failure. That is courage. So, if today's episode has answered questions you've been carrying for years, I want you to share it. Please forward it to a friend, share it in your groups, send it to the woman in your life who you know is sitting there struggling in silence, because this conversation needs to reach every single woman that it can. And if you want to go deeper, everything I talked about today is part of the holistic work I do inside my Becoming Light programs. Our cohort 4 opens in September 26th. You can join the waitlist inside our free school community. The link will be in the show notes for you. Also, my free masterclass, Let's Talk Supplements. We're talking about protein and perimenopause, and that is coming up on June 9th, and all the details will also be in the show notes. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for choosing to understand your body, and I want to thank you for showing up for you. So until next time, please be kind to yourself.